Hello, freshmen. This is the first part of your test review for the Geography Unit 1 test. The test will consist of 20 multiple choice questions and one short answer. And we'll be taking the test in the computer lab on our CASEL learning program here at Peru. If you haven't done this yet, it's pretty simple. But what you will need to make sure is that you have access to the computers. If you don't have access to the computers, you will not be able to take the test, or you'll have to handwrite it. So this particular review is the first half of what we are going to do in class, but it gets you thinking and it brings you to class with some ideas ready to go and ready to talk about as we get ready for our first test. So what I'm going to do is review these certain geography concepts that you see here. I'm going to go down this list, and I actually will even give you the short answer question and give you time to prepare for it. You can't bring anything to class, but you certainly can review this and prepare yourself for what you're going to do in class on Tuesday. Using longitude and latitude, understand that lines of longitude run north and south, but they measure east and west. And lines of latitude run east and west, but they measure north and south. An easier way to remember this is that longitude gives us an idea of time zone, where if you move east or west, we realize that time is going to be different. However, moving north and south gives us a better idea of temperature, and those lines of latitude help us understand that. You'll also need to understand general direction on a map. For example, if I gave you a point on a map, point A, look at a map of the world and move to the east. Sounds very simple, which it should be for you at this point in your educational career. However, if we complicate it a little bit and we cut into the Middle East, for example, you need to understand how to move west in the Middle East, looking at a very cut-down map of the Middle East and having the ability to move west or east or north or south looking at the map. It doesn't change that much. It's just confusing wording. We want to make sure that you're not confused about it because you have a good grasp upon movement upon a map. Identification of specific physical features. Your vocab cards will be useful for this. That's why I told you not to throw them away. You provided yourself with descriptions of physical features, and we are going to use them once again. For example, what is a piece of land with water on three sides of it? The answer would be a peninsula. Or what is an archipelago? A chain of islands. What is an island? A piece of land with water surrounding it on all sides. What is the definition of a strait? An isthmus, a gulf. All these things will be useful for you. You should probably try to list as many as you can here. So now's a moment that would be a good moment that you would pause and maybe try to list as many things as you can in this area. I'll have plenty of these papers for you to have. If you need to, if you run out of room, you can write on the back, you can write on a separate piece of paper, whatever works for you. But brainstorming right now is probably the most important thing you can do. Now on that idea of identifying specific physical features, what they are, what they look like, now we need to be able to do it on a map. For example, Japan is an example of the answer would be archipelago. Or what would Japan and Greece have in common? And that would be irregular coastline. Where could we find the largest desert in the world? If I showed you the west coast of South America, could you identify what physical feature runs up and down that west coast? Those things are going to be important for you. Effects of certain physical features. For example, if we're talking about people who live in plains lands and plain sort of areas, we're probably going to see a predominantly an economic system predominantly driven by farming and agriculture. If we see people on an island civilization or an island city, they're most likely going to have harbors, ports, to be the backbone to their economy, fishing industry. People who live on the west coast of India, they are affected by monsoons on a yearly basis. So we need to be able to make a very long list of how people are affected by the physical features they live on, near, or around. And we can revisit that through our geography posters and the last video before the Bantus on living, which is labeled Living on, Near, or Around Specific Geographic Features. As those geographic features affect people's lives, they're also going to affect population distribution. And population distribution is something that simply means where do people live on the map. Now, their geography is going to be the primary factor in all of this, no matter what we do. Now, because of the population distribution, and because of the effects of living on, near, or around certain things, humans have decided to make changes to their surroundings, or adaptations. Our 5 themes of this, in which this affects them, are the human and environment interaction, and it also can be movement. For example, the desertification of the Sahara forced the Bantu people from our last video to move to the south and to the east in that continent, and therefore spread their language. That's an adaptation to a physical environment of that Sahara growing over time. Terrace farming, if we're to talk about the Andes Mountains and the Incans, the people who lived in the mountains and terraced the mountains in order to create farmland for their people. That's a specific adaptation to their surroundings. That one does not indicate as much movement. That's more of a specific adaptation. However, it's still the effect of the physical environment and what it has on humans. So as we take a look at this, I would pause it right now because this is going to be an important concept on your test, and I would list as many specific adaptations that you could think of our discussions, in our discussions during class in reference to the posters that we did on specific physical features, or revisit the video. Lastly, select one geographic feature and discuss how this geographic feature influenced the development of a specific civilization or region, and discuss how this geographic feature promoted or limited interaction of the civilization or region with another civilization or region. You can do any example that you see here below using these different places: Sahara Desert, Great Northern Plain, location of Japan, Mediterranean Sea. If you understand any of these, that's great. You can use things that are not listed here. You can talk about anything that you are comfortable with, but I do want to point out, when you write this particular short answer, do not tell me about positives or negatives, or do not tell me about a comparison of 2 different places. The essay reads, discuss how this geographic feature influenced the development of a specific civilization or region, and discuss how the feature promoted or limited the interaction of this civilization with another civilization. So interaction here, we can also say that this is movement. Did the physical feature limit movement, or did it allow movement to more easily occur? Write all over this thing, take notes all over the place. Also write any specific questions you have down. You have a lot of space on this particular paper, and you have things that fit under specific headings as you go down through. Good luck, and we'll see you on Monday.